I'm going to make a critical broadcast mistake. It's next, Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every moment count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. I have been in radio since May of 2003. So more than 22 years I've done daily radio. Been in sports, daily sports radio since 2007. I host Locked on LSU. I'm on a bajillion different platforms. I'm pretty hard to miss. And I'm going to make a critical mistake right now because everything in media tells you tease, the value of the tease. You keep your audience longer. You tell them what's coming. You entice them. You make them stay. Think of College Game Day. When College Game Day does the pick segment, it's not at the beginning of the show. They give you a 3-hour tease and build up to the crescendo, which are the picks. Lee Corso's headgear. Now Pat McAfee jumping in a pool wearing his underwear, whatever. I'm not going to make you wait to the end of this episode. I'm going to tell you my LSU Ole Miss pick right now because I don't think it's worth waiting. I think LSU is going to win and win handily. I am uncomfortably confident in LSU's ability to go to Oxford and win this game on Saturday. Almost irresponsibly confident in LSU winning this football game. As a matter of fact, I haven't been this confident in LSU beating Ole Miss since 2022. Now, if you're an Ole Miss fan who's found your way to this show, thank you, by the way. I appreciate you for being here. You'll probably remember this because, boy, there were a lot of Ole Miss fans not happy with me 3 years ago because on Monday of that game week, and you might remember, Ole Miss was undefeated and ranked 7th in the country, but they hadn't played a soul. Talked about it all throughout media days and building up. Ole Miss was going to come to Baton Rouge undefeated because they had a pretty good team, and their schedule was soft as baby poop. And they did come to Baton Rouge undefeated. They were ranked 7th in the country and flying high, and they were reading their own press clippings. And the fact of the matter is LSU is a better football team playing at home. And I said on Monday of that week that LSU said, I'm not even making you wait till Friday. So I said it last week, say it today. I'm going to say it again on Friday when I make my picks. LSU is going to beat Ole Miss, and they're going to do so handily. And boy, a lot of Ole Miss fans didn't like that. They quote tweeted that. They added me. They bookmarked it. They tweeted at Lane Kiffin. And you know what happened? LSU beat Ole Miss in Tiger Stadium, and not many of them had a darn thing to say. Listen, I'm no cheerleader for LSU. It's my school. I went there. I love them. I wanted to win and everything. If there's a tiddlywinks competition at a national championship, I want LSU to win it. If all of a sudden curling becomes a sanctioned sport by the NCAA, I don't know anything about dudes sweeping ice to let a little disc run down the thing. I don't really care. But if LSU, it's purple and gold, I want them to win. The bottom line is, though, if I think LSU is going to lose, I'm going to tell you. A lot of y'all were very unhappy with me when I picked Clemson to beat LSU because I thought that was a really difficult spot for LSU to open the season on the road against a veteran team with so many new pieces for LSU. But I also told you before that game that might be the last time this year I pick against LSU. And the reason is because I know what my eyes saw throughout spring and fall camp. You see, a lot of people who do this job have a really difficult time. And I'm not talking about fans who do radio show or fans who do YouTube channels. God bless it, wish everyone great success. I'm talking about credentialed media members who have access to the program and to coaches and to players and have real insight. And it's very difficult because in college, coaches do not have to grant access to anything. Like in the NFL, there is collectively bargained and mandated media availability. In professional sports leagues, it's not like that in college. But Brian Kelly has given us tremendous access, So I probably went and watched 20 hours of LSU football practice in fall. I'm not guessing. I'm not telling you something somebody told me. I'm telling you what my eyeballs saw when I went out to practice. And I told you all throughout spring and all throughout fall camp, that defense is legit. I told you A.J. Halsey is an incredible player. I told you Bernard Gooden was unblockable. I told you that Mansour Delane looks like a lockdown corner. I told you this. So Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins, they look like All-Americans. What have you seen through a month so far? You've seen all those things I just said. And what I've repeated over and over and over and over again is this is what it looks like when you go spend $20 million on your roster and you get a bunch of proven power forward dudes in the portal. And nobody should understand this more than Ole Miss fans, because this is exactly what Ole Miss did last year. What LSU is doing right now is exactly what Ole Miss did a year ago. They went into the transfer portal and they cleaned up. They got Trey Harris and they got Walter Nolan and they got Chris Paul. They got Princely Uman-Mielen and they got Trey Amos, and they were loaded at every level of their defense, skill dudes everywhere, fifth-year senior quarterback. Ole Miss was one of the best rosters in college football. And by the way, I picked Ole Miss last year to go to the playoff, and I picked Ole Miss to beat LSU last year in Tiger Stadium. They were 3.5-point favorite. And you know why Ole Miss didn't beat LSU and why they didn't go to the college football playoff? Because their coach is not a good head coach. Let me rephrase that. Their coach is not an elite championship caliber head coach. He is a great offensive mind, really creative game planner, really creative offensive schemer. But Lane Kiffin, go back to a few years back when he's in Tuscaloosa and he says, get your popcorn ready. And from jump, going forward on a fourth down deep in his own territory, doesn't make it, flip the field, Alabama, quick touchdown, and the route was on. Look at last year. LSU turnover deep in LSU's territory. Ole Miss didn't get any points off that turnover. Think about Ole Miss losing at home to Kentucky last year. Think about Ole Miss losing to Florida on the road. 2 games Ole Miss lost last year. Two different games Ole Miss lost as a double-digit favorite. Home against Kentucky, at Florida. And by the way, they had no business losing to LSU. Why did they lose? Because of their head coach, not because of talent. By the way, when LSU beat Ole Miss last year, I think we would all agree Ole Miss had a better roster. So what do we all say? You can say this out loud. What do we all say when a team with less talent beats the team with more talent? What's the reason the team with less talent beats the team with more talent? You can say it out loud. They got outcoached. Better coaching. Brian Kelly is a better coach than Lane Kiffin. You can laugh and hee-haw and guffaw all you want. Brian Kelly is the winningest active coach in college football. He's won at every stop he's been out. He got Notre Dame with inferior rosters, by the way, to a BCS championship and twice to a 4-team college football playoff. Lane Kiffin, with one of the best rosters in football, couldn't get Ole Miss to a 12-team college football playoff because he gagged away 3 games he had no business losing, including 2 as a double-digit favorite. LSU has a coaching advantage, and then LSU also has a massive quarterback advantage on Saturday in Vaught Hemingway Stadium. With all due respect to Chambliss, Trinidad Chambliss, who has been really good through his 2 starts so far, there is 0% chance if you put Trinidad Chambliss and Garrett Nussmeier on a wall and said, all right, pick, who do you want to be your quarterback? There's a 0% chance I would ever take Trinidad Chambliss over Garrett Nussmeier. I watched Garrett Nussmeier a year ago throw for 4,000 yards in the toughest conference in America. Watch that a season ago. My eyes, your eyes, that's the thing that happened in real life. He's the leading returning passer in all of college football this year. Garrett Nussmeier. I saw him, by the way, nails on a 4th down play, throw a touchdown pass to Aaron Anderson to send that game against Ole Miss to overtime. We all saw that with our own eyes. Trinidad Chambliss was playing for Division II Ferris State last year. And as my friend Russ Mitchell said, Ferris is not a state, it's a wheel. Now, that doesn't mean Trinidad Chambliss is a bad player. It just means what he was going up against in Division II Ferris State and what he's gone up against so far through his 2 starts this year will pale in comparison to the level of talent, speed, athleticism, creativity that he is going to see from LSU's defense and from Blake Baker's scheme. This is like going from an entry-level course, a 1,000-level course in college, to a PhD-level course in a matter of 2 weeks, and he ain't going to be ready for it. It is hard. It is really hard to play quarterback at this level, especially when you've never done it. Ask Arch Manning what it was like going to Ohio State. Ask DJ Lagway what it was like coming to Baton Rouge. Go down the list of guys that have never been in that situation before, what it's like. Ask Bryce Underwood what it was like for his first road start playing in Norman, Oklahoma. It is hard to do. And I don't think that Trinidad Chambliss is the guy that's going to all of a sudden solve LSU's defense. Now, I'm not done. I got to grab a quick break, and I'm just getting started. I told you LSU is going to beat Ole Miss, and I'm going to continue telling you why I think, and we're going to get deeper into this matchup as we continue Locked on LSU, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, how about the great defensive play by LSU against Southeastern Louisiana a week ago? Or we could even look at 8 consecutive touchdown drives by the offense. That certainly kept the offense moving forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. I want to continue talking about why I think LSU is going to not only win this game, but win it handily. And I know what this series has been. The home team has won the last 5 in this matchup, and they have been close games. Last year's game went to overtime with LSU winning by 3. The year before in Oxford, that was the score fest, 55-49. Ole Miss got it done. LSU blew a 9-point fourth quarter lead. In Baton Rouge in 2022, that's the game I referenced, LSU won by 25 points. It was 45-20 was the final score. In 2021, that was at Orgeron's last year when LSU got blasted 31-17. LSU won a score fest in Baton Rouge in the rain in the COVID year, 53-48. That's when Coach Kayshon Boutte went off. Of course, 2019, LSU blew out Ole Miss, and that was the last time the road team won in this series. But that was part of LSU winning 5 consecutive games from 2016 to 2020. As a matter of fact, LSU has won 7 of the last 5 in this series. The 2 exceptions were Ed Orgeron's last year, which was a disaster, and 2023, where LSU had a 9-point lead, but the worst defense in the history of LSU football gave it up in the fourth quarter. Also, if I'm going to look at Ole Miss so far this year, if you want to compare resumes with these 2 teams right now, let's go ahead and do that. Because what I've seen from Ole Miss right now is they went out to start the season and played Georgia State. Congratulations, you scored 63 on Georgia State. I'm not sure if you watched, but a week ago, Georgia State played another SEC team. They played Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt scored 70 on Georgia State. So forgive me for not being super impressed that Ole Miss scored 63 on Georgia State. Then they went to Kentucky, and they were in a quagmire against Kentucky, a terrible Kentucky team. That game was tied with 5 minutes to play in the third quarter. That's a Kentucky team that can't move the football and is terrible on defense. Then they play Arkansas in their own building, and I had news for you, Coach. Arkansas is not a good football team. I think Taylon Green is a fine offensive player, but Arkansas went and tallied 500 yards of offense against that pitiful Ole Miss defense at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. And then a week ago, congratulations, you beat a G5 team in Tulane 45-10. But I don't know if you noticed, Tulane in that game ran for 178 yards. Right now, Ole Miss is the worst rushing defense in the entire SEC. And I know LSU has had a lot of trouble getting going offensively, and especially in the run game. That is a fair criticism. What I also know is LSU has a ton of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And if you want to discredit LSU offensively for what they've been to this point in the season, I don't blame you. The numbers are what they are, and they have a lot to prove. What I know, though, is a fact is what I told you. Garrett Nussmeier was a 4,000-yard passer. I know he can do it. Aaron Anderson was LSU's leading receiver a year ago. He's done it at this level. Same thing goes for Xavion Thomas. Nick Anderson set an Oklahoma freshman touchdown receiving record for the Sooners a couple of seasons ago. Bauer Sharp was Oklahoma's leading receiver, pass catcher, and receptions a season ago. Barrion Brown has been an SEC stud for 3 years. The only reason his numbers aren't better is because of coaching malpractice in Lexington, Kentucky by Mark Stoops. We can keep going down the list. You want to talk about Trey'Dez Green? We'll see if Caden Durham plays. We know that his ankle has him a little bit up in the air. But the bottom line is, I know the talent, the skill that that LSU has. And for whatever reason it was that LSU was slow playing the first month of the season offensively, maybe it was Nussmeier's torso. Maybe you want to blame Joe Sloan's conservative play call. Maybe it was Brian Kelly protecting a young offensive line, leaning on his defense because he knew he could. Whatever the case may be, for whatever reason they were doing that or they weren't able to get going. If you were actually watching the football game last week against Southeastern Louisiana, I'm not talking about beating and scoring 56 on an FCS team. What I'm talking about is actually seeing the ability. Because for everyone who was worried about Garrett Nussmeier's torso, the question was, can he push the ball down the field? Can he torque? Can he turn? Can he throw it deep? All those questions were answered. So, yeah, LSU can push the ball down the field. Another thing about that Ole Miss defense that we were just talking about. Do you realize that a year ago, all those great defensive players from Ole Miss that we just talked about, Walter Nolan, J.J. Pegues, Princely Uman-Mielen, Chris Paul, Trey Amos, go down the list. Great college football. They're all in the NFL now. Ole Miss returned 2 starters from last year's team. 2 from last year's team. It's a completely different team. A season ago, I watched LSU put on the field maybe the worst safety play I've ever seen in my life at LSU. This is a program that's had LaRon Landry and Eric Reed and Jamal Adams and Grant Delpit, studs at safety. And last year was as bad a safety play as I've ever seen in my life. And you know who was a part of that? Sage Ryan was a part of that. You know where Sage Ryan plays right now? He plays safety for Ole Miss. And LSU went out and traded Sage Ryan for A.J. Halsey, who was a first-team all-conference guy and led the Big 12 in interceptions last year and is playing like a total stud right now. It is a total role reversal from a year ago. And I'm here to tell you, a year from now, I ain't going to sit here this confident in this game or any game because all the guys I'm talking about, Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton, Mansour Delane, A.J. Halsey, Bernard Gooden, all these guys are gone. They're going to be in the NFL next year, along with Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins. They'll be in the NFL too. So LSU next year is going to be in the same position Ole Miss is in this year. But this year, the truth is, top to bottom, LSU is a better, more talented, deeper football team, and they have better coaches and a better coaching staff, as we just outlined. So no, I do not believe that a Division II quarterback facing a legitimate defense for the first time, complementing a bad defense from Ole Miss, which has been awful so far through 4 games, that has 2 returning starters, is going to be the team that's going to line up and that's going to humble an LSU team that went on the road to Clemson. And you can discredit Clemson all you want, or maybe we could sit here and say part of the reason Clemson is what it is because LSU went up there week 1 and beat them. That's a Clemson team that was a madhouse that LSU went into at Clemson Memorial Stadium in that opener. A top 10 matchup with all the hype and all the anticipation and all the anxiety surrounding it. A 5th-year senior, a 3-year starter in Cade Klubnik, 2 first-team all-conference wide receivers, 4 returning starters on the offensive line, 2 potential first-round picks on the defensive front, a potential first-round pick at cornerback, 11 first-team all-ACC players among their starters at Clemson. And LSU went up and held them to 1 scoring drive. One scoring drive that entire game on their home field. Why? Because LSU's defense is legitimate. And the biggest thing right now that odds makers, prognosticators, talking heads, fans have not yet come to realize is just how good LSU's defense is. You can explain it away. You can say, well, Clemson isn't any good, and DJ Lagway isn't any good, and you played Louisiana Tech, and you played Southeastern, and all that's fine and good and dandy. But I'm telling you, I watched 20 hours of this team practice, and I watched them go against Berrien Brown and Garrett Nussmeier and Nick Anderson and Aaron Anderson and all the guys I just talked about, and I watched them dominate. And they're going to continue to do that all season long because they got a great defensive coordinator in Blake Baker, and they went and spent almost $20 million to get stud players at every level of the defense. And it is going to be hell for any team to move the ball consistently against this LSU team. And I sure don't think a Division II transfer with a bunch of dudes who weren't on this great Ole Miss team a year ago are going to be the ones to break through, especially when you gave Blake Baker now 2 weeks of game film of Trinidad Chambliss to sit there and break down. Yes, I like LSU in a big way in this football game. I think the Tigers are going to beat Ole Miss. I think they're going to beat them soundly. I have not felt this confident about this game since 2022. And LSU beat them by 25 points that day in Tiger Stadium, ran them out the stadium. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing again on Saturday at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, because Ole Miss's defense is not good enough to keep up with LSU's receivers, to be able to cover long enough with Garrett Nussmeier slinging the ball. And Ole Miss's offense is not, I don't know that there's any offense in the country that's going to be able to get off against this LSU defense, because that's what they're built to do, is to dominate teams defensively. And if that offense starts to click, then LSU is going to be a tough out for literally anybody in the country. LSU has as talented a roster as any team in college football. And Saturday is going to be the first time the rest of the collective college football world goes, oh, well, maybe they really are that good. We know it. I know it because I've seen it already with my own two eyes. And the rest of the college football world that's been putting it off, denying it, thinking about last year LSU's inability to stop a running quarterback, that don't understand what LSU did in the transfer portal, they're going to see it on Saturday. I haven't been this confident in this game and the result since 2022 when LSU beat them by 25. And I don't know that LSU is going to win by 25, but I think LSU wins and wins comfortably on Saturday in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. We'll wrap it up next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. So let's break it down. How about for the LSU Tigers? The entire offense, maybe Garrett Nussmeier, Michael Van Buren, they all delivered in a big way against, Southeastern, but 8 consecutive touchdown drives. The Tigers were on a streak. And just like Garrett Nussmeier delivered for the Tigers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it all season long, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. Today's show is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, where caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. And what I love the most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get the boost when you need it. So enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in-store and online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. As we come down the stretch of today's episode of Locked on LSU, Brian Kelly did share the unfortunate news that Gabe Relaford tore his rotator cuff. The sophomore defensive end for LSU will have surgery and will miss the remainder of the season. That's certainly unfortunate. That means redshirt sophomore, third-year player Dylan Carpenter will have to step up. Kalaj Cobbins, a redshirt freshman, could also step up. Damian Shanklin, true freshman, had 2 sacks on Saturday against Southeastern, could also see his playing time increase. But Patrick Payton, Jack Piber, and Jamari Butler are still going to be your primary ends there on this defense, and guys you're going to count on. Certainly unfortunate for Gabe Relaford. Now, Brian Kelly also gave an update on running back Caden Durham, who's been battling that ankle injury.
Time. It's really an element of time. He's gotten better each day, but we got to take Friday. We got to take right up to Saturday before we make a final decision on him and give him a chance. He wants to play. So we told him the only way this is going to work is if we give you the whole week and right up to game time. So his status is the same.
So questionable for Caden Durham. We'll see if he's able to go. Brian Kelly was also asked, if Durham can't go, what does that running back room look like, where you have no shortage of options, but you are certainly short on experience.
Juwan gives us, a guy that is dynamic, sees the field, can catch it. And then Harlem's got home run ability in terms of hitting it. And then Caleb has been really good. He had a solid week last week. Physicality, size, blocking, pass pro. So I think it'd be, if Caden can't answer the bell, it'll be a combination of all three.
There's also the option, of course, of Xavion Thomas, who we've seen from his receiver spot motion into the backfield and take running back reps. So they have options. What they don't have is a proven number one bell cow tailback. So it could be unfortunate if Caden Durham isn't able to go, especially for an LSU offense that struggled to get going running the football. But it just means it's opportunity for someone else, maybe Juwan Johnson, maybe Harlem Berry, just like a year ago at Columbia, South Carolina, when Caden Durham emerged for LSU in a big spot in his third collegiate game. The other interesting part is Brian Kelly was asked how good his defense is watching this team, and he chose not to answer it about the defense. He took a different tack.
We can't win in the SEC saying we're just going to lay on our defense, and whatever happens there, we'll let it go. Our offense has got to rise to the occasion as well, and certainly Florida was not exactly what we wanted to do in that game, but we wanted to win the game and find a way to win as we continue to develop our offense. But we have to have production from our offense, and it's an offense that's capable of it. It's just taking some time with some new pieces and all of it coming together. But I want to be consistent on defense in this game, be who we are, and then continue to see the growth and development that we saw last week going into this week.
I say it all the time. In every sport, teams are allowed to improve. LSU found its way to 4-0 with a young offensive line, nursing a torso injury, whatever the case may be. And if you're starting to see that offense break out to complement that incredible defense, look out, because LSU could very well be the best team in college football. They'll have a great chance to prove it on Saturday at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium against the Ole Miss Rebels. I think I said Rebels. Rebels. It's another big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Okay, that's going to do it for us here on today's episode of Locked On LSU. Do me a favor, if you're listening on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And please let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day for Locked On LSU. Your team, every day.